Here in the lab today working on one of my computers. You may not immediately recognize this one from the back. Heck, you may not immediately recognize it from the front either. This is the Amiga 4000T. Now I bought this from Software Hut sometime in the early 2000s as an upgrade to my Amiga 4000D. Of course, it was really too late in the Amiga experience for me to use it much, because by that time they had just gotten out of date, and the retro computing scene really hadn't come back alive since then, or at that time. But since then it's blossomed, so now we'll see what I can do with this. This model here is actually not a Commodore machine. This is, if we read on the side here, it says Amiga Technologies, manufactured sometime in 1996. We can look here around. If I don't trip on anything, we can look around at the front and you see, if you were really to look at this machine, besides the badging right there, still even has the original plastic on there. I never took that off. But if you look at this machine, it really wouldn't look that much different from your standard PC at the time. Now, that's because this Amiga, though it really is a true Amiga with all the custom chips and the CPU board and things of that nature, the motherboard form factor here is a standard AT style motherboard, and it fits in a standard AT style case. Anyhow, so I had this thing up to hooked up and all that, but right now what I'm doing is I'm disassembling it, because I'm going to send off the motherboard to get recapped. These Amiga 4000s, both the desktop and the tower model, as well as the 1200, the 600, and maybe a couple other models, use these capacitors, and you can see them right here. And these capacitors have a tendency to leak and destroy the motherboard. And I'm okay with the soldering iron, but really these are surface-mounted components, and there's a lot of them, and it's just well beyond my skill level to do comfortably, especially on a board like this that, if I were to mess up, I'd have a real difficult time replacing. So anyhow, we're going to disassemble here. I think I'm going to try and do a time lapse of this, of me taking this down, and then I'm going to send it off to a gentleman in California that's going to do the recapping for me, and then we'll build it back up, reassemble it, and probably do a video on that too. So like I say, pretty interesting machine. Lots of space in this case, lots of slots, lots of drive bays, all that kind of stuff. So, wish I had this back in the 90s or the early 2000s when I was really using the Amiga a lot, but just bought it too late. So it's really been mostly a display piece. Although we're seeing now that the retro computing scene has really kind of gotten off the ground. Now, the best thing about this motherboard, if you notice over here, take a look at this, coin cell lithium battery. So that's something that ain't going to leak and destroy like the other things. And really the capacitors in this are all probably still good. They tend to last, I want to say, about 25 years or so. But just as a preventative measure, they're going to get them replaced. I haven't seen any signs of damage. In fact, this machine powered up just great. Sound output worked pretty good. Display came up. The only problem that I have, and it really is kind of a small tragedy, I'll bring this board over here into the light, is my graphics board has stopped working. This is a Picasso 4x Villagetronic, something I bought secondhand. I might do a small video about this when I get my 2000 back together and kind of look at the two graphics boards that I own. But if you notice here, there's all this craft. Focus, please. All this craft. And I'm not quite sure what this is, but someone had put in an aftermarket heatsink on this guy, and I think it maybe gotten a little overzealous with the thermal paste, and I'm hoping that that's what that is. Obviously, this board's a bit dusty too, so I'm going to try and clean this up and hopefully get it back working too. Because the Picasso 4 boards are really pretty valuable and quite desirable. Anyhow, so I think that's about all I want to say about this. So we're going to disassemble this. I'm going to try and do a time lapse with my new lighting setup and stand that I got here. Whoa, that's bright. And we'll see how this goes.